Okay, welcome to this week's short, and it is a short, I'm afraid. We'll start with an apology. You shouldn't ever start with an apology, but let's be right about the job. We're working for a living at the minute, or I am, which I don't normally do. Rab's off again down in Argyle. Steve's busy messing around with follow and editing, and I keep booking clients in. So I've been out this morning with Alwyn from deepest, darkest North Wales, made the journey up here, never stalked before, bit of a shooting man, works pointers on the moor. Fancied to go out stalking, so I spent the day on the range yesterday. We had some lovely weather up here actually, and it's a bit blustery this morning. Got him all set up, good shot actually, very quickly, happy with the rifle. We shot a little roe this morning, so he's a happy man. Go out again this afternoon. So we're bringing you this in between running around like headless chickens, the proverbial headless chicken, but anyway, you're getting a weekly show, come what may. So what we've got for you this week is, it's a film I did quite a long time ago actually. In fact, there's Oscar on this, so it just shows you how long ago it is, about the Gralloch. One of the things I get asked about constantly and have done almost forever is Gralloching, tips and tricks, little sort of refined procedures that we use, then people can go away and develop their own method. And I'm a great advocate of the suspended Gralloch. So this is one I did a long time ago. Now this has not been aired before, so we're just going to bring you the salient points, but we will do a more in-depth one when we've got a little bit more time, and we'll bring that to you over the coming months. But this is one to be going on with. Wintry kind of stalk, so pretty self-explanatory, so I hope you enjoy that. And again, it's been one of the girls that's coming around just checking out what's going on. Bees are flying a bit. Hey, come on, grab a bee and I'll be jumping around like a headless chicken as well. Anyway, so have a look at this and see what you think, and we will bring you an updated version of this, because this was filmed a long time ago. Procedure's still pretty much the same, maybe a few little bits of refinement we can cover, but anyway, see what you think. Girl. Was I? Okay, for first thing your assessor's going to want to see you do is a cursory examination of the deer. Blink reaction test, but when you've got a dog that's located it and tugging away at it, I think it's pretty safe to say it's dead. But that would be an eyeball touch to forget a blink reaction. That would normally be the bottom of the stick, so just touch the eyeball, no blink reaction, clinically dead. And then just a cursory examination of the deer. Bumps, lumps, anything looking untoward. I mean, it's a very healthy buck, this, clearly. Nice bright eyes, looking for foot and mouth, so we want to see inside the mouth. We're looking at the cloves of the hooves. And just the general condition of the deer. And clearly there's no issue with this deer at all. It's obvious, a good healthy buck, absolutely fine. So that's the first thing. For me, I'm going to do a suspended Gralloch, so I've located my tree, which is this one. This is just a perfect height to work on, so I'll hang it up there. And then the next thing I'm going to do is put the kit to one side, so the safety aspect comes into play, and get your kit all ready. So you're going to do an unload on the rifle. Safe direction. We've got a slight problem here because I've got a set of mounts set up for the GoPro, and it actually makes it difficult to eject the round, so it's a bit of a problem that I need to adjust that. So basically, rifle's safe. Set your stall out basically before you start. So basically that's where the deer's going. Now the first process is the bleed. That starts the cooling process. All the things you want to be telling your AW, give them a commentary like I'm doing while you're working. It makes it a lot easier for him, her. You can explain what you're doing. So we're going to bleed the carcass now. If you're gralloching on the floor, that would be raise the head, in thoracic bleed basically into below your Adam's apple effectively here, and then just pump the chest if need be to get the blood out. The reason we want to start the cooling process is it reduces the body temperature. Bacteria grows best at body temperature, so the sooner we can start to cool that the better. It's a lovely coolish morning this morning, it's very nice actually, so there's no sort of major issue. But because I'm going to do a suspended gralloch, clearly the arse is up there, the head's down there, then it's a lot easier when you put the knife in, all the blood will come out. So next process, once I've hung it up, is to do the bleed. Prior to doing that, I'm going to take the back legs off at the hocks. That just makes it easier to hang up in the tree. Hock it. You can see the main knuckle there, then there's a secondary smaller one there. That's where your cut wants to be, just around there. And basically just free off the fur. And there you go, easy. Okay, so knife down on the sack so it's not on the floor. Get a control of the deer, which is the easiest if you get the head and the back leg. And then onto your chosen branch, which really wants to be about that height, which is perfect. Bleeding out the exit hole. I want to be able to get this hung up so I can spread the legs quite wide when I do the pelvic area. But once I've got it firmly on the tree, then I can manoeuvre that to suit me, which is perfect. Essentially what we're going to do now is bleed the animal, as I already said. So just into the chest area, thoracic area, move your knife around and we get that blood out. See, what I'm doing is just easing the knife around a little bit, just creating more of a space. There's a fair bit, it's bled out quite a bit anyway, and you can see the congealing already. Essentially the way to tackle the carcass now, for me, on a suspended gralloch, is we're going to skin up the penis, bit of upward pressure, and pull it back till it's hanging over the anus, which will expose a belly flap there. Because everything's now dropped down into the chest cavity, you can put your knife in without fear of rupturing or splitting anything, bladder or anything, and I'm going to cut right through the H-bone with the knife, nice neat cut, and then I will open that with the bone saw. Then I'll put my finger in, my hand in if you like, to hold all the stomach contents in while I cut down the cavity down to the top of the sternum. I'll hold all the gut and content in, finish my cut, take it right down to the bleed hole, then I'll change over to the bone saw and I'll saw the chest cavity open. Then I can release my hand, and essentially that will then kind of hang down in this area, and that area will be all open and clean. Go back to the H-bone, which is now cut. Make sure you spread the legs wide, and you can actually then free off the anus and the bladder and pull it back up the carcass to here, and then you can do a little incision to cut it and then bring it forward so it'll hang down there. So any contamination from the anus is going down onto the floor, and the only thing then that's holding the stomach content and the intestines in that carcass essentially is the diaphragm skirt, which I'll cut, nick off the connective tissue, and then all of that with gravity will come forward onto the windpipe, and the windpipe will be hanging down there like that. So essentially that will be the deer fully grallocked, nice and clean, air's flowing around it, nice and cool, so it's cooling down. So we've really got a carcass that is well prepared and presented. So I'll go through that process now bit by bit. We've done this before, filmed it quite a few years ago, but there were a few little bits, little key bits that we didn't actually physically show you. So I'm going to try and show you that today, because I get asked a lot. For example, how did we get that area cut? And they didn't see the chest cavity being opened with the saw. Right, so basically just to take you through what I explained a minute ago, get that, lift the penis up, okay, and I'm going to free that off. Doesn't matter if you go through. The key to this is upward pressure and a sharp knife. And you can see what I'm doing, just freeing it back, okay, nice and neat. Okay, that now, the key to this is upward pressure, keep a tug. Fold that back. Now I can see in here that the deer's probably been laid up, so I've actually got a full bladder there, so I need to be careful, but there's nothing in the way now. So basically I can nicely cut down to, now some dealers don't like the H-bone being cut. Ours don't in Scotland, I don't have an issue with it. If that was the case, then you would need to tunnel at this point. So basically you would tunnel in around the back, and then you would pull forward. It's much easier if you can, if you are okay with cutting to the pelvic bone, and basically that is all I'm doing at this stage. So now you can see the bone's freed off. I'll just ease that forward a little bit. I don't want to take it too far because the intestines will want to fall out. So now what I'm going to do, this is one of the bits that didn't come out on the last footage we did, is I'm going to actually cut this with the bone saw through that pelvic bone. I've got to kind of push that to one side so I don't split the bladder, and then it's just a straightforward flat saw cut like a tenant saw till I go through that bone. Okay. Right, I'll probably have to kind of stand in front of this a little bit now just to get my sawing action going, but essentially I've got my bone saw. Now I've moved the bladder out of the way, and what I'm doing is a flat cut. Quite a good strong bone in that. Through that bone, which is nearly through. And there I'm through. Okay, I can discard the saw for a minute now on the sack. So what I've got now is a cut completely through that bone. What I want to do here though is I want the legs wide apart, because that is all coming through there and I don't want to rupture that. So basically spread the legs as wide as you can, which is a bit tricky. Which gives me, oh yeah, it did give me, that's got it. Right, so now you can see I've got an area to work with, so I can bring that through. So basically you don't even need the knife much. You'll be fairly gentle with this for obvious reasons, and I'm just using my fingers to free off. Okay, now I want my knife again, so get that in your hand, and basically now carefully, because this is a full bladder, I'm actually going to come up. I'll just give it a little nick, okay, and basically out of the carcass. Any contamination now is going down there, so I'm not worried about it. So what we have now is a nice clean anus, and we're ready to go on to the next part of the process, which I want that out of the way. I want my hand inside to hold everything back, and then I'm going to, protecting knife working outwards, protecting hand, I'm going to work down to the top of the sternum, and then I'm going to work the knife on top of the ribs all the way down to the bleed hole. You want your bone saw handy here, because I want to keep everything in there with my hand, and I don't want to have to take that hand out once I've cut down to here, because if I do, not a particular problem, but everything falls forward and hangs over the area that you want to cut. So if you can keep it all in with the back of your hand, then it just does make life a little bit easier. So basically I'm guiding the knife, keeping everything out from puncturing the stomach till I actually hit the top of the sternum, which is about there. And then what I want to do then is change my cut. I'm now coming down to the bleed hole, so just exposing the rib cage down to the bleed hole. This is where you want things to hand. You see the intestines trying to wriggle through like a blinking eel. And basically, once I've cut the first little section there, I can put the knife in, because I don't want to put the knife in there, because that's where the stomach, and I could end up cutting the intestines. The knife's going in there, which is in the area of the heart, the cavity, and now I can completely cut all the way down. The rest of the blood will come. Let's drain down while we've been doing this, and make sure you go right through the bottom of the ribs, which I've gone there now. I can hear that. That's through. Okay, what will happen now is when I release my hand, right, everything's wanting to come out nice and clean. Kidneys there. We can do part of our examination actually while we're in this position. Kidneys, looking for water retention, hydrostenosis. Clearly they're a good set of kidneys, not much fat around them, but we're early season, so I'd expect that, but good nick. So we can take the kidneys off, out of the way at this stage. If you like kidneys, They're beautiful to eat, but the reward for... She's mousing. Go. So that's her reward. Okay, so all we've got now holding the actual one of the organs here, we might as well examine this while it's here. You can see that is the spleen. Now the reason we're looking at the spleen is the spleen will be an anthrax indicator, which is a notifiable disease for the purposes of level 2. It normally should be about that size, I suppose about half the size of the liver. That kind of ovally shape, and it's that kind of grey blue. It's a very distinctive colour. So we're looking for the colour, but primarily we're looking for whether it's swollen, enlarged or distended. Okay, so that's about as good a healthy spleen as you're going to get. So that is an anthrax indicator. That is what you need to be telling your AW. That's what you're examining. That's normality. And the reason you're looking for it is it is an indicator of anthrax, a notifiable disease. Later stages anthrax, very emaciated carcass, potentially black oily substances oozing from any orifice. So those are the symptoms of anthrax, and essentially never been known in UK deer. However, it is a notifiable disease, so you need to be aware and you need to brief on it. So that's probably as much of the examination at this stage as we'll do. We'll now finish the rest of the evisceration, and you can see now the diet. You can clearly see that what's holding this in now, the stomach, the intestines, is basically this connective tissue here and the diaphragm skirt. So nice neat cut just to free that diaphragm skirt off, and I'm going to nick that. Be careful because there's your fillets, the bottom of the fillets where it connects. I'm just going to nick that off, and you can see very little pressure. That's already starting to want to come out. So I'm going to finish taking the diaphragm skirt out. I can put my finger through to find out where the bottom of it is so I don't puncture anything, which is there, and then just cut back up now, and then the same on the other side. So essentially there's the bottom of the diaphragm skirt, my finger's there, just free off that diaphragm skirt, and there you go. Okay, that deer has now essentially grallocked itself. So a very clean carcass, draining, little bit of green there, but that's where the bullet, the bullet around, if you like, fragmented the ribs there. So there's obviously been a sharp rib which has just probably nicked the back of the food pipe. That's not a major problem because we can clean that off. Single wipe with a wipe down, but other than that, you can see the shots bang on the money. Entry wound here, exit wound here. You can see some damage to the ribs, but that's actually that bullet weight. That's 60 grains heavier bullet, but far less damage than the ballistic tip. It's not about weight. There's lots of things about speed and how the bullet performs once it's in the carcass. So that's more like, that's what I want to see, because at the end of the day, the deer's going into the food chain. So I really I don't want it smashed to pieces. I can at this stage, while we're in a nice comfortable position, take the front legs off. Easy way to do it. People struggle. Bend the leg, follow the line of the leg. Do not take your knife around there, which everybody wants to do. Keep it there, and that will put you right onto the joint. Again, no major pressure. Okay, then slight dislocation, straight off, and then free it off. It's easy. I'm not forcing. Sharp knife essential. End Belief, my new End Belief, which is a good knife. So bend the leg, free it. You can see it go there. I'm not putting any pressure on. The key with a knife is pressure. If I'm having to force and push, that's when accidents happen. Whatever you can use the knife clinically, then you're less likely to end up with it through a thigh or across your hand. So we've already got now a nicely presented carcass. We'll look and do the rest of the examination. What I will do is I'll take the head off. If you can keep it all intact, it makes it easy because you can suspend the head over the top of a tree, and then the pluck is hanging down and it's a lot easier to look at rather than have it on the floor. So to take the head off, I might just change the camera angle in a minute, but basically I'm just going to chase the windpipe all the way down. That's the first thing. Okay, that's all the way now down to the throat. Okay, So we'll probably change the camera angle. I'll come around and actually I can do it here. I'll show you I'll bring the head round and show you how to take the head off. Okay, so I'll bring it around this way. A lot of people struggle with taking the head off. Cut close up against the back of the ears. So basically my knife's effectively right at where the ears join the neck. Cut through. And then bring the knife through. I want to go the top side of the windpipe, the esophagus. And I'm cutting through. So I've not cut anything other than taking the fur off. And you can start to see now we're in the area of the atlas joint. So there, you see that go there? You can see the fluid coming out. Okay, so that is the central point. So I now know that I'm in the right spot. But what you've got here are some flanged bones. And you kind of got to tease these. You can't cut them. You've kind of got to tease them with the knife. So I'll just take that cut a bit further round. And it's hard to show you on film because it's very difficult to see. But basically, you can see there now, it's just starting to go as I'm teasing around with the knife. You can see that bone there, which is like a tooth, and it sits in a cup. You cannot cut that. You've got to tease it. You've got to tease it out, and you can see just using the point of the knife. Not a lot of pressure again. Now that's gone. Okay, that head is now off because that has now come out of the cup there. In no way can you cut like that or like that. The only place you can do this is by just teasing the knife into these little joints. Okay, and there's nothing holding that on now. That's completely free. So just finish it off. So there you have a beautifully prepared carcass, even though I say so myself. Air going around it, carcass is cooling, totally reducing the risk of contamination to the absolute minimum. From that position there now, that deer will go into a clean roe sack, my apex predator, which I can actually put it in like this. Drop the hooks off, drop the deer in, close it up, put it on my back, take it home. The next time that deer sees light of day will be when it gets to the vehicle, into a clean carcass tray. Remember, transporting the deer back to the larder is an integral part of level 2, so don't think you've finished when you've done this bit. You've got to get that back to the larder in a clean, hygienic condition, because that's another area, a major area for potential contamination. We don't want it curled up in a roe sack for a long time if we can help it. Down to the vehicle, clean carcass tray in your vehicle. Your AW, you want to see that. You want to see the method that you're going to get that deer back to the house. Take the deer out the roe sack, lay it in the carcass tray, allowing airflow to cool on the drive back to the house. When I pull up outside the larder, and we'll film this, the tray will come to the side of the vehicle, the deer will be lifted up onto a gambrel. Anything needs cleaning out, we'll give it a wash with potable water. Now, it's not appropriate now to spray that, but I'll cover that when we're actually there rather than talk about it now, because we'll do that. So basically that's how that deer is going back to the larder. So the only thing that remains to do for your level 2 is basically now just finish off your carcass examination to make sure that there are no other indications of any problems with the deer. Particularly we're looking for the other notifiable diseases. We've eliminated foot and mouth, close of the hooves, tongue, eyes, etc., just to make sure that there's no blistering. We've looked at the spleen, so we've eliminated anthrax. We've looked at the kidneys, which just is an indication of general health of the deer. We've looked at the overall condition of the carcass. There's no ticks on the carcass at all. Still quite early season. I'm not seeing many ticks on anything at the moment, so there's no tick burden on it, and the deer is in good condition. So everything's telling me at this stage that the deer is a healthy deer. The most likely notifiable disease that you will encounter is TB, bovine TB. I'm not saying it is likely, but if you're going to find a notifiable, that's almost invariably what it's going to be. So we're going to do the lymphatic system. The lymph nodes are the kind of body's filtration system. So that is, if the lymph nodes are infected, it could indicate a lot of things, not just TB, but it is symptomatic of TB, and therefore we have to assume TB. So a crucial part of this operation now is the lymph node examination. So what I'm going to do now is show you how to find those. Right, so what I'm going to do now is, we'll see if we've got enough strength in this to hold this up. I'm going to put the buck's head over this fork, which is now allowing the carcass just to hang freely. Okay, so it just makes it easier for working. Now, invariably, you will get a lot of shot damage in this area. I mean, we've gone through the top of the heart here, so it's obliterated the top of the lungs. What we are looking for, that's coming out the bit of stomach content coming out of the ruptured windpipe, which was done by a rib in the carcass, which we could see. What we're looking for here are the upper and lower bronchial lymph nodes. Now, the upper and lower bronchial lymph nodes hang just where basically the lungs join the throat, if you like, and basically we've got damage here, so we're not really seeing those because we've kind of got too much damage. But what you would be seeing is if they were infected, you will be seeing swollen, sort of pussiness, grittiness, and clearly there's no sign of any infection in there. But we've actually shot those away with the round going through the top of the heart. Mediastinal lymph nodes are in the connective tissue down the back, and you can see there, I hope, that that's the mediastinal lymph node, just like an opaque. You almost feel it rather than see it. It's like a not gritty, it's like an opaque, hard kind of lump, and that is the mediastinal lymph node. You can see it there. More a feel thing than a look thing. Again, looking for gritty or enlargement. While we're here, we'll look at the liver. Two things we're looking for the liver. Basically, we're looking at see if any sign of liver fluke, any sort of marbling or striations within the liver, any hardening around the edges, which clearly there isn't. And then on the back of the liver, where it connects through, we've got the portal lymph node. So the portal lymph node in there. Again, you can feel it more than see it. It's a gritty, not gritty. It's a kind of hard kind of lump which wiggles about in your finger as you're squeezing. You can clearly feel it, but there's obviously no sign of infection and a very healthy liver. Lungs, we're looking for any evidence of any lungworm. Again, nice clean lungs. Again, quite a bit of damage, but you will see that by kind of you get kind of cysts on them or mottling. You can see kind of blotchiness, but nice healthy pair of lungs. So the only inspection, the only sort of organ I'm going to look at now are the intestines. Now for this, I'm actually going to physically take the deer and put it on the floor. So I'm going to look at the lymph nodes in the head, which there are two sets in the head, and I'm going to look at the lymph nodes in the intestines. These are the key indicators. The other lymph nodes are secondaries. The ones that you must show your AW are the mesenteric lymph nodes within the intestines and the submandibular and the retropharyngeals within the head. If you cannot show him or her those three lymph nodes, and we might not find the retropharyngeals very well because of the way I take the head off, because I cut very close to them, you need to be able to show him the others, or one of the others, or a couple of the other sets, just to show that you know where they are and that there is no sign of infection. So for now, I'm going to put this back on the floor. And what you want to do here is you want to use the stomach as a table and just spread the intestines out. There's two sides to intestines. There's the smooth side and there's a Cumberland sausage. So there's the smooth side and there's the Cumberland sausage side. So it's obviously Cumberland sausage lumpy. We want the smooth side, okay? So onto the stomach, use it as a table, spread the apron out. Okay, and it makes it so much easier for yourself now because there you go, obvious mesenteric lymph node chain. There you go, and round here. Now, sometimes it's a chain, an unbroken chain. More often than not, I find it's little knobbles like this, these nodes, and we're looking for swelling, infection, pussy, a bit like a squeezy spot. That's slightly enlarged, but there's no issue there. It's perfectly normal. So that is the mesenteric lymph node chain. One of the key indicators, simply because, I mean, the food comes into here, so infection affects these before it would affect, for example, the portal lymph node. It would take a lot longer for infection to get from there down into the liver. The other key indicator, for obvious reasons, because the food's going in through the mouth, is the two sets of lymph nodes in here, and basically what you've got are the retropharyngeal lymph nodes, which actually sit at the base of the jaw, so where the jawbone goes round, right underneath it, on the bend. Again, we have incised them here, so you're not really going to see a little bit of one there. You're not really going to see these because where I've taken the head off, I cut so close to this that I often nick them. So we're kind of dealing with a partial set of lymph nodes. There's a bit of one there. But what I'm clearly not seeing is infection or swelling, so I know that they are fine. The ones that, if you really want to see those, what you want to do is take the head off a different way and probably bat it at the larder, actually saw through the neck so you can actually skin underneath the jaw, and I'll show you how to do that without having them all messed about with, because I've taken the head off the way I take it off. Right, submaxillaries, what you want to do is skin the jaw back. So basically I'm getting to a point, I'm trying to work upside down here so it's difficult, get to a point where I can pull the bottom of the jaw and all the flesh back, and I'm just easing it back to the base of the jaw. Just cutting down the bottom of the jaw, and as soon as you get round the corner, there is where your submaxillary, submandibular lymph nodes are. You see that, clearly see that there. Again, this gristly kind of lump. Not swollen, not enlarged, not infected, and it just sits right at the base of the jaw where it goes around the corner. And on the other side, there we go, submandibular lymph nodes. If you are going back to the larder, once you've done that and you've left more of the head on, if you cut the tongue out, again it's awkward because I'm working the wrong way around, but and cut deep down into the base of the jaw, and get your knife so it sits on the back of the jawbone as it goes round, and cut down there and pull back. What happens is the retropharyngeal lymph nodes will pop out here, but obviously I take the head off very close, and I've actually cut them because we've got a lot of crap coming out of there now anyway. So basically that is a full inspection of the carcass up to a level 2 standard. It's not rocket science, you can take your time, there's no need to rush it. You're not getting timed on it, just do it systematically, and just to say, take your time, go through it, work out where everything is. And it's always good when I'm witnessing, or Graham's witnessing, any of the guys, talk to them, tell them what you're doing. Saves them asking questions. If you talk to them and tell them what you're doing, show them what you're examining, explain what's normal, what's abnormal, it just makes the job so much easier and takes a lot of pressure off yourself. Otherwise then they have to start asking loads of questions while you're doing it, and it kind of throws you off your drift. So basically that's what I would want to be seeing. Need to bear in mind another element of the assessment is obviously disposing of the gralloch. We're going to take the head with us back to the larder anyway. Perfectly acceptable in most areas to leave the gralloch sympathetically within the area that you are for the carrion. So we're going to take it up. I'm going to put it under a tree up there, out of one of these ditches, because I don't want it doesn't want to be in a drain where the water can run down. I'm going to move it well away from that. There's no public access in here anyway, and I'll just put it out of sight, and within a day or two that'll be gone. We don't have a lot of badgers, but we do have badgers, but there's a few foxes, so that'll be gone, and carrion crows, etc. So what we now have to do is just clean the equipment up, get that in the row sack, and then we're going to go back to the vehicle. Again, you've been assessed the whole way through this. So make sure you clean your equipment. You've got a method of cleaning your equipment. I've got some wipes within my bag, antibacterial wipes, which I'll wipe everything down. Gloves will come off, everything away, row in sack, and then back to the vehicle. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed that, and as I said, we will in the coming months bring you we'll continue with that theme actually, because people want to see it all the time, so we can break down perhaps salient points of a gralloch and cover it in minute detail, for example opening the pelvic area or whatever. What we've also had is questions, just like to try and cover questions from subscribers and viewers. And I had a call actually, again, full enough, from a Welsh guy. I can't remember his name, and I'm good with names. I can't remember my own half the time. But thanks for the question, whoever you are, and you know who you are. But he spoke to me about non-lead ammunition. He was coming up to Scotland, stoking reds in the rut. With also the possibility of seeker, and he was sort of asking me whether I thought non-toxic ammunition and the combination he was using would be sufficient. And my answer to him is the same as my answer to everybody else on this lead v non-lead or lead v non-toxic. Oh, I'm not supposed to say non-toxic, are we? So lead v non-lead, let's stick to that. Is that I find the alternatives to be incredibly accurate, pinpoint accurate actually. And to my mind, and I've said this all along, regardless of the argument about lead and non-lead, is accuracy for me is key. I constantly am asked questions of guys coming up for the first time, say, well, I've got a 243 and I've got a 308, or for example, I've got a 243 and a 3006, whatever. Do you think I should bring the bigger rifle? And I always say to them, bring the rifle that you use most, because it's the rifle that you're comfortable with and it's the rifle that you shoot well with. So what I'm interested in is accuracy. Doesn't matter how big the bullet is, as long as it's legal, you put that bullet in the right place and you're going to kill the deer. So I really prefer people to use a rifle they're comfortable with, and this is exactly the conversation I had with this chap, in that he uses I think it was a 6.5 Creedmoor actually, all the time for all his stalking and his vermin control, but he also has a 308 tucked away in the cupboard, which came out back in 1943 or whatever. Which one should he bring? Bring the 6.5 Creedmoor. A, it's a calibre I like anyway, 6.5s, and B, it's the one he's shot with all the time, so he's accurate with it. So as long as the bullet combination is legal, lead or non-lead, and you shoot accurately with it, and that's the one to use. And if you shoot a deer with a round in the right place, you will kill it. I get a little bit tired of people posting out there on the fact that, well, if I'd have shot it with a lead round, it wouldn't have run, or all the rest of it. I've yet to be convinced. For me, I've been using non-lead ammunition now in the Creedmoor calibre for about probably close on 2 years now, and I absolutely see no discernible difference between that and lead. And actually, a couple of times that deer have run recently with perfect shots have been lead and not the non-lead alternative. So I think accurate. If it's a rifle you're using, then crack on and use it. So that would be my advice about the calibers to bring, and also my comments really on the different ammunition that's available to you at the moment. Okay, so that was a short shot. Hope that you enjoyed that. Don't know when Rab will be back. He says he's on his holidays down in Argyll again for a couple of weeks, and we're right in the thick of stags, so it might be me again. Next week's will be a full edition for you, full episode for you. So please, as always, keep subscribing, keep liking. Subscribing helps us, because the more people that subscribe, the more backing we can get. We can maybe bring a digital editor in to assist us in producing these, so that we're not always trying to rush around to bring you a weekly show. So that all helps us, and please keep the comments coming. So remember, watch this space, and it's good night from him in Argyll, and it's good night from me here in a blustery southwest Scotland.